everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be installing a Rugged Ridge inner fender liner on the rear of my JT Gladiator. I have the American Adventure Lab front aluminum inner fender liners, and they've been great. They have a quick disconnect system to them that I really enjoy. It makes it a breeze to just pop those things off and get to your engine bay or your suspension, so that you can modify whatever you want to, and that stuff's out of the way, and all it is a simple turn of the bolt. But on the rear, I don't really believe that aluminum inner fender liners are necessary for the most part, due to the fact that you're not really going to be ever needing to remove them. And they make some plastic ones that are far cheaper. They tuck up under real nice, unlike the OEM ones that go all the way through the shroud. You know, so I ended up going with these. We'll see how they work, and maybe it'll be an option for you as well, save some money. But with that, I got the American Adventure Lab fender retention kits. I have it on the front. I've liked it so far. When I deleted the front inner, or when I deleted the front shroud that goes around the fender, it's worked out really well. It's not flimsy at all. So I'm going to go ahead and use that for the rear shrouds, and replace them with these retention brackets. I don't anticipate that it being any more flimsy or any flimsy at all, really, because the front aren't flimsy and these are much smaller fenders. So I'm going to be replacing that, and then I'm also going to be changing out my end links on my rear sway bar. I got some really nice ones that will make my rear sway bar a little bit more parallel to the ground, because it's slightly raised, maybe about 10 degrees, so it'll give me that little bit more articulation, and hopefully keep from that bracket breaking at any point when I'm doing any kind of overlanding or anything like that. So let's jump in, show you what we're doing, and you can see how this whole process goes, and maybe you want to do it yourself. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is remove these 3 8mm bolts. They are holding the inside of this fender liner in towards the frame, and then pull off several plastic grommets that are holding this fender up. So there's 5 plastic retention clips that are inside of here. 2 here, 2 here, and then 1 right up in the middle up here. And right here, yeah. So the next thing we're going to do is cut these little retention tabs off, because they're stopping this fender liner from pulling out. We should be able to pull out this fender liner now. I suppose you could do this with the tire off, but there's not really a need to. So now the inside of this bed is exposed, and a lot of dirt. But what we'll do is pull this fender off, and all it is just a bunch of plastic clips. If you squeeze the back side of them with a pair of pliers, they'll basically wiggle right out. There's several of them, and that's going to be what we'll remove next. Gotta be careful not to pull too hard, because you'll crack the shell of your paint, and I'm not really trying to do all that as much as just get this out. But these things are pretty accessible. As you can see, that's a spot for both of these. This one's completely hidden, you can't reach it at all, and then this one's minimally accessible. Okay, so what we're doing is removing all these little plastic tabs that go along the inside of the fender, and what you're going to need these for is, so don't damage them, right? You're going to need these for the American Adventure Lab retention brackets that if you use those. Otherwise, you're going to need to reuse these plastic clips, and I just wouldn't recommend it, but they break pretty easy. They have 2 little notches, 1 on each side, and they stop it from rotating out. So you have to lift them to rotate it, and then they slide out. and you would need to reuse these. I would just use the American Adventure Lab retention brackets, and then they'll take the place of these. The caveat to that is, though, that you need a nut cert tool, or a crush nut, so that you can actually like crush those nut certs onto these mounting locations on the side of your frame or the side of your sidewall of your bed. The next thing after that, what we're going to be doing is pulling this inner plastic liner off the shell. But what they do is they melt weld this shroud to the shell, and you got to pop those off. So you have to be careful not to overflex your shell, because it will crack the paint, cause splintering in the paint. So I would just be careful about that. There's not really a good way to do it. You just have to take your time, and what I tend to do is slide something thin in between the shell and this liner to break that weld, and then it'll pop off. And what we'll end up having to do is cut these tabs, because they'll all be sitting off, and then we'll put it back up with the nut certs and the bolts that are provided from that. Well, we got all the little retention clips off. Next thing we're going to need to do is, like I said, break these little heat welds. But what happens is you get these tabs that are going to keep you from going and pulling it off. So you got to cut these tabs off so that you'll be able to pull off the liner or the shroud. And doing it like this too also helps, because you ain't got to worry about too much worried about cutting up your paint job or anything like that. Now these middle ones, they don't really get in the way. It's these angled ones that are a problem, because they basically fight against what you're trying to do. Now, you can start at either end. It's really up to you. You just have to really primarily worry about getting it off without, like I said, splintering the paint in the shell. So now that those are out of the way, these heat welds, they pop. It's a perfectly normal sound to get them off. Now, granted, the front fenders are a lot harder than the rear fenders, because they're a lot wider. There's just a lot more welds and a lot more pieces to kind of worry about. But so far, this guy right here is pretty easy to pull apart, especially comparing to the front ones. There we go. So I didn't have to stick anything besides my arm in there this time. Okay, we have the shroud, that plastic shroud or liner, taken off the shell. You can see the visible marks from where they basically like heat welded it onto the shell. We didn't have any damage in the shell itself, and it worked out really well. So we'll end up cutting off these tabs clean, because these are going to be on the outside, and you won't notice that they're cut, as well as putting in the crush nuts or zerk nuts, and then we will put the liner in, the inner liner, and then put this outer shell back on. Got this right side inner fender liner on, and I haven't put on the shell back on yet, because these crush nuts are going to be kind of altered. So there's going to be certain spots where I can't put the crush nuts, and then they'll still work. They'll specifically work with this kit, because it uses these metal, these little metal backings. Those same nuts will go into, so they fit inside here like such. And there's going to be multiple mounting locations for it. There's two here. These are going to be really easy to install. And then one, and then one here. It fits behind here like that. And then these locations, for at least this Fender install with the American Adventure Lab system, or tension kit, these won't have crush nuts on them. So the rest will, these will not. And then it'll still work all the same because they're compatible with these backings, which is really nice, kind of convenient, especially considering that I'm not using the same company for this stuff. And then they've got the little rivets for in here. Comes in this kit. And then the fender itself is marked left and right, so there's a little R right here for the right side, and then an L for the left. So we'll have to remove those. Got ahead of myself. We're gonna have to remove these. Get this guy back in there like such. And then we'll put these little trim tabs in. And the rest of these will be off the crush nuts right here, and then I'll add the crush nuts into here. So these M6 nuts they're really easy to install. Basically, all you need is to stick it in the hole, and you get your nutsert tool threaded in. And then go ahead and close it until it gets tight. Go ahead and take the threading out. And that's it. Really easy. We're all done. This fender, I think, looks a lot better considering that my front fender already had the shroud taken out. These American Adventure Lab fender retention kit systems work really well. It's a black spacer that takes the place of that factory little plastic white one, and they basically fit in the same spot. You stick these provided bolts in through there, and then feed them into these crush nuts, and they compress. So if you see, there's very little movement in this, nothing more than like the plastic shell. That combined with the Rugged Ridge inner plastic liner that tucks up really nice. It won't interfere with even 37s when I go to put those on. It works really well, and ultimately this little upgrade right here is going to cost you, roughly about $100, or I should say about 160 bucks, because the inner fender liner is a little bit more expensive, about 90 bucks, and then these little this whole little kit for both sides is like 50 bucks from American Adventure Lab. They do offer a military discount, so you can go ahead and apply for that through their website. And yeah, if you're looking at doing this, I highly recommend it. I'm really happy with it. Don't regret taking this off at all. I think the look looks really clean, but you guys can decide for yourselves.
Yeah.
product links into the description box, and if you're looking at getting these, you can just follow those links and you'll be able to do that. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.